Welcome to the Sketch Plan CAD editor in Dreamscape Gardens. Before we place a single plant, before we talk about paving or lawn or any garden feature at all, we are going to do one thing first, and we are going to do it properly. We are going to lock down the building. This is the most important step in the entire process. Everything else, every path, every terrace, every border is designed around what you draw in the next few minutes. Click on New Plan, give it a name, assign it to your company, and step through the brief if you have site notes to record. Then you are in. You will see a clean grid canvas. 1 square equals 1 meter. That is your working space. Now select the straight line tool from the left toolbar. This is how we trace the building footprint. Click your first point on the grid and trace around the perimeter of the house, clicking at every corner. Snap is active. You will see it lock to the grid lines as you move. Use that. Accuracy here saves you time later. Close the shape back to your starting point and you have the outer wall. Now add the doors. Select the door tool. Hover near any wall line and you will see a blue snap dot appear. That is the tool telling you it has found the wall. Click to place. You can set the swing direction in the sidebar and adjust the width to match what is on site. Do the same for any sliding doors or garage doors. Then do the same for the windows. This matters more than most beginners realize. A window on a ground floor is not just a visual detail, it is a constraint. You do not plant a tall hedge directly in front of a living room window. You do not pave over a side entrance or block a garage door with a raised bed. These seem like obvious things. They are not obvious when you are staring at a blank canvas with a client sitting next to you. Having the building accurately traced with every door and window in place means the garden design that follows is always grounded in reality. Log the footprint first, every time, without exception. You know what a measure tool does. Let us talk about how to use it well here. Select the measure tool from the left toolbar, click your first point, drag to your second point and right-click to release. The distance appears on the canvas in meters. Do this for every wall of the building. Do it for the key distances from the house walls to the garden boundaries. Left boundary, right boundary, bottom of the garden. Those are your 4 or 5 essential measurements and they take less than 3 minutes on site. Now the snapping. At the top of the screen you will see a snap bar running from point 1 to 1.0. This controls the precision of where your points lock to the grid. At 1 meter snap, everything locks to the nearest full meter. Fast and loose. Drop it down to 0.1 and every click locks to 10 centimeters. For wall measurements and boundary lines, work at 0.1 or 0.2. It gives you clean, accurate dimensions that match what your laser measure is telling you on site. And those clean measurements matter later. When you send this sketch to the main garden designer as an overlay, every meter you got right here saves you repositioning time there. One more thing, and this is for the site visit, not the sketch plan itself. Elevation markers. If you plan to show your client 3D water drainage visuals or front and side elevation views in the main designer, you need elevation data collected on site today. A basic laser measure from any DIY shop is all you need. Take readings from several points in the garden down to a fixed reference, a front door threshold, a step, a known level. Note them down. You will enter them as elevation markers in the main designer. You cannot go back and measure a garden you visited 6 weeks ago. Do it now while you are there. If elevation markers are new to you, check the how-to documentation in the platform for a full walkthrough. Now the real conversation starts. You have the building, you have the boundaries, you have the measurements, and now you sit down with your client, either on site or virtually, and you ask the question every good garden designer asks: what do you actually want here? Maybe they want a patio, maybe they want to extend the one they already have, maybe they have always dreamed of a swimming pool but never said it out loud until now, a barbecue area near the back door, a wildlife pond in the far corner, a garden shed somewhere discreet, a path they can walk barefoot in summer without crossing wet grass. None of these things exist yet, that is the point. This is the Tetris part of the design process, and it is one of the most valuable things you can do in front of a client. You place an idea on the canvas, they react to it, you move it, resize it, try it somewhere else. It is fast, it is visual, and it replaces a conversation that would otherwise take an hour and end with a rough sketch on a paper napkin. Use the rectangle tool for patios, pools, terraces, and straight-edged features. Use the freehand pen or curved polyline for anything organic, a pond, an irregular lawn edge, a winding path. Once the shape is placed, fill it. The tillable surface textures, grass, sand, stones, gravel, concrete, tarmac, decking, give every zone instant visual meaning. Your client does not need to imagine it, they can see it. And if something is wrong, if the pool ends up where the shed should be or the path cuts awkwardly across the lawn, do not worry. The eraser removes individual elements. The lasso erase lets you draw around a group and wipe them all at once. Nothing is permanent, everything is movable. I will demonstrate both of those tools in the video. Before we move on, one important distinction worth understanding now. The tools in the left toolbar are drawing tools. They put shapes, lines, and fills on the canvas. The legend panel on the right is something different. Legend items are numbered, tracked, and auto-calculated. Every time you place a legend element on the canvas, it counts itself. Quantities, totals, plant numbers, the legend does that work for you automatically. So if there are existing trees in the garden that need to stay, a mature oak, an old apple tree the client wants to keep, add them through the legend. That way they are numbered, they appear in your plan documentation, and they are not accidentally erased as part of the design work. The legend remembers them. The next section is entirely about the legend, how it works, how to build it, and why it becomes one of the most useful tools in your whole workflow. Now we get into the part that separates a sketch from a real garden plan. The legend. Every professional garden design document has one. It is the key to the map. A numbered list that tells you exactly what is on the plan and how many of each there are. In the Dreamscape Sketch Plan Editor, the legend does not just sit there looking professional, it works. Every time you place a legend element on the canvas, the quantity updates automatically. You are never counting plants by hand, you are never looking at a plan and wondering whether you placed 8 lavender plants or 11. The legend tells you. Here is how it works. On the right side of the editor, you have your legend panel. You can add items to it, plants, trees, features, materials, anything that needs to be tracked. Each item gets a number. That number appears as a small label on the canvas every time you place that element. So if lavender is item 3 in your legend, every lavender plant on the plan carries a small circled 3. When you place the 5th one, the legend count reads 5. When you remove 1, it goes back to 4. Automatic. This is where your garden style starts to take shape in the sketch plan. Say you are designing a Mediterranean courtyard. Your legend might include olive tree, lavender, rosemary, agapanthus, terracotta pot grouping, gravel border. Each one numbered, each one placed deliberately on the plan, each one counted. By the time you finish the canvas, your legend is also your planting schedule. And for existing elements, trees the client wants to keep, a retained hedgerow, add them with the label like existing oak. They get their own number, they appear on the plan, and they are part of the documented record. Take plant positioning seriously here. This plan is not just a sketch for the client to look at. If you are passing this to a garden designer to take it to the next stage, full planting plans, elevations, 3D visualizations, they will be tracing directly over this. It becomes the onion skin underneath everything that follows. The pulsing 0 marker on the canvas is your alignment anchor. Every designer working from this plan will use that point to register their layers on top of yours. So get it right here at this stage before anything else. Now, here is something that makes the legend genuinely powerful as a design tool. Everything in the legend has a layer. You can drag items up and down in the legend panel to control the stacking order on the canvas. What sits on top of what? Drop a gravel surface below a planting bed and the planting bed sits over it on the plan. Move a terracotta pot group above the patio and it sits in front of it. And the tools in the left toolbar, rectangles, circles, freehand shapes, can be inserted directly into the legend stacking order too. So if you draw a custom decking area or a large lawn shape using the drawing tools, you can slot it into exactly the right position in the layer stack. Everything on the plan, whether it came from the legend or the toolbar, ends up in one controlled visual order. Now, before you move on from this stage, before you go anywhere near procedural 3D elevations or AI visualizations, stop. If the client is still with you at this point in the project, get them to sign the client brief here. right now, not later. This plan, with all the shapes, the measurements, the textures, the plant list, and the legend, this is the agreement. Everything downstream of this moment is built on what you see on this canvas. Once you move into the next stages of production, changes become expensive and time-consuming. Do not go out and buy a single plant. Do not order materials. Do not book contractors. Do not build anything in 3D until you have that client signature. Time is money, even for the most passionate garden designers. Especially for them, in fact, the work is creative and you care about the result, which makes it very easy to keep going, keep refining, keep adding. Stay organized, protect your time, get the sign-off on the plan, get the brief confirmed, then move forward with the full confidence that what you are building is exactly what has been agreed. The legend is your quantity takeoff for plants, features, materials, and it goes straight from this canvas into the conversation about cost. That is also part of the brief. Get it signed. The plan is taking shape, the structures are placed, the textures are in, the legend is built. Now you need to make it readable. For your client, for your designer, for anyone who picks this up and needs to understand it at a glance. That is what the text label tool is for. Select it from the left toolbar and click anywhere on the canvas to drop a label. You can name a zone, call out a dimension, add a note. Anything you would write on a hand-drawn plan, you can add here. Labels scale with the plan. They sit in the layer stack like any other element, and you can move them freely. Use them to name areas clearly. Patio, lawn, kitchen garden, sun-sitting area, storage. Do not assume the client can read the legend numbers and join the dots. Label the zones directly on the plan so the conversation during the review is about the design, not about decoding the diagram. Use them for clarifying notes too. Things like boundary fence to remain, existing drain cover, access gate, clear 1 meter minimum. Anything a contractor or the next designer needs to know that is not captured by a shape or a symbol. Keep labels short, 1 or 2 words on the canvas, longer notes in the brief. The plan should be clean enough to print and hand across a table without explanation. When the labels are placed, step back and look at the whole canvas. Is it clear? Would someone who was not in the room with you understand what they are looking at? If yes, you are ready to save and export. The share button at the top of the editor gives you a direct link to this plan. Send that link to your client and they can open the plan in their browser, on their phone, their laptop, whatever they have, and see exactly what you built. No account required on their end, no app to download. It opens in front of them looking exactly as it does on your screen with a welcome message that explains what they are looking at and what they can do. They cannot edit the plan. They can look, they can zoom, they can review every element, and from there view, the garden chat button is right there, so if they have a question, a change request, or they want to talk through something they are not sure about, they can message you directly from inside the plan. You will see it in your chat panel. This is the handoff moment for client approval. They review the plan, you discuss it over chat if needed, and when they are happy, they sign the client brief. That signature is your green light. For a designer handoff, it works the same way. Share the link, the designer opens the plan, sees the 0 marker alignment point, the layer order, the full legend with quantities and categories, and can begin their own work on top of it. The plan does not need to be printed, scanned, emailed as an attachment, or described over a phone call. It is a live link, it is always the latest version, and it is the single source of truth for everything that comes next. Everything autosaves as you work, but there are 2 things worth doing deliberately before you leave this plan. First, save a named version. Use the Save button at the top of the editor. This locks in a clean copy you can come back to, compare against, or restore if the design evolves in a direction the client later wants to reverse. Second, export a PNG. The PNG button at the top right renders the full plan at high resolution, clean, grid-free, ready to drop into a PDF, a client presentation, a mood board, or an email. What you see on the canvas is what you get in the file. file, all your textures, your legend, your labels, your measurements. This is the document you send before the sign-off conversation. Not a screenshot, not a photo of a screen, a proper exported plan with your company branding at the top, the client's name on the project, and everything clearly laid out. If you are working with a client remotely, this export goes into the client brief. The brief pulls together the plan, the site visit notes, the plant list from the legend, and the scope of work. When the client signs that document, the plan inside it is this one, the one you have just built together. Keep your exports organized by project. One folder per client, one plan per stage. You will thank yourself when the project comes back 6 months later and someone asks what was agreed. The plan is saved, the export is done, now it is time to share it. So that is the sketch plan editor from start to finish, building footprint and boundaries, doors and windows, measurements, snap precision, elevation markers, the design conversation, structures, surfaces, the Tetris phase of placing ideas and moving them until they work, the legend, the layer stack, plant counts that calculate themselves, annotation that makes the plan readable, a clean PNG export and a live share link that puts the plan directly in your client's hands. Every step in this workflow moves the project forward with something documented, something the client has seen, something that can be signed. That is the discipline that separates the designers who get paid for their ideas from the ones who give them away in conversation and never quite get to the build stage. Your sketch plan is the foundation. Get it right, get it signed, then go and build something remarkable. If you found this walkthrough useful, the next video covers the 3D visualizer, taking this exact plan and building your first 3D view with zero experience in 3D. You are asking yourself, how is that possible? And to find out, see you in the next video.